So this, I think, regarding audit manual, most of the participants, I think you might have worked on many issues, means you might have come across several points of the audit material, audit manual while working at the organization. As you know, there may be some repetition. So you can means repetition in the sense already we have discussed like delegation of power. We have discussed rules and bylaws of ICR. So some, but discussion I will simply I will avoid. I will ignore that. So as you know, ICR is a society registered under the Society Registration Act 1860. So so there are several authorities of the societies headed by the president, who is the Honorable Union Minister of Agriculture, and Vice President, Governing Body, Director General, Secretary, Chairman ASRB, Director DARE, and such other personal bodies or committee or panel as may be constituted or appointed by the Government of India or the governing body of the government ICA. So these are the main units, main authorities of the societies headed by the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. As per this audit manual, the powers have been vested with the governing bodies, with the president, with the vice president, DG, secretary, all the authorities. There are certain power which has been vested with these authorities, but there is a provision these authorities can delegate certain power to their subordinates. President, which is the Honorable Union Minister of Agriculture, he can review theoretically the work and progress of the society, and he used to appoint committees or commission to inquire into and report on the affairs of the society and pass such order thereon as he considers proper. As I told you, the president, if he desires, he can also delegate some power to the vice president, to the DG, to the secretary ICR in writing. And the director general, who is also the secretary there, our director general is the secretary to the DARE, Department of Agriculture and Research Education of Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. And DG is the principal executive officer of the society, and he shall be responsible for proper administration of the affairs of the fund of the society, prescribing the duties of the all employees of the council, and exercising supervision and disciplinary control over the works and conduct of all employees of the councils. That means you can tell that he is the supervising authority of all the employees, maybe scientists or technical or administrative of the council overall. Of course, several ICR institutes are there. So as per the delegation of power, the employees of the respective institute will be monitored, governed by the respective director of the institutes, and he is also there to advise the Government of India, state government, and administration of the Indian territory, all other matter related to agriculture, fisheries, and animal husbandry. As I told, director general also, if he desires, he can also delegate certain power vested with him to his subordinates, but that has to be in writing. Secretary ICR, who is the IS officer, the secretary ICR shall exercise all administrative and financial power as it has been given under the rules of the ICAR. Mainly, he will execute all the contracts or deeds and other instruments on behalf of the society or the governing body. He is to sign and verify pleading on his behalf. Means he can also sign and plead on the directly, or he can also authorize any other person for this purpose. Secretary may also delegate certain power to his subordinate, and the secretary shall function under the direction of the governing body and society. ICR means there is also certain guidelines. Under that guideline, secretary has to also work. Then secretary shall exercise all the power of the head of the department relating to ICR headquarters. Financial advisor, FA madam, FA presently Madam Alka Aruna madam. Financial advisor is also again an IAS officer, and is financial advisor is responsible for the budget of the society, control of the finance division, and internal check, internal auditing, accounting. And in case of headquarters, wherever every again financial advisor, if he or she desires, he can also delegate certain power to the subordinates. In the every sanction order, you might have seen that whenever a sanction order is issued, one sentence is written there. That means this has been issued with the concurrence of the internal finance, or with the concurrence of the, you can tell, AFO, FO, senior FO, chief FO, or internal finance division. You can also say, means no sanction order will be issued without the concurrence of, without mentioning that it has the concurrence of the internal finance. So likewise, in the headquarters, when everything, whenever the sanction order will be issued, it has to be in the sanction order itself, the concurrence of the finance division is to be written. Joint Secretary Finance, in the audit manual, actually it is written Director of Finance, but Director of Finance, actually recently our posts have been upgraded. It is Joint Secretary Finance. So that is why wherever Director of Finance was there, I have replaced this by Joint Secretary Finance. The Joint Secretary Finance will supervise the work of the audit and accounts of the headquarters and all the ICR unit also. So there are audit and accounts and budgeting, accounting also will work, will be also looked after by the Joint Secretary Finance. And there are other officers of the ICR, DDG. Presently, you may be knowing there are 8 SMD, subject matter division, like crop science, horticulture, NRM, education, extension, likewise. So these all SMDs are headed by DDG and director of the various research institute. There are also ADG and other persons also. So what is the main features of the audit and accounts setup? What is the main feature? So why this unit is established, audit and accounts? Payment in respect of the headquarters or various institutes are arranged locally and are subject to 10% pre-check by the respective finance and account officers. Means, first of all, ICR headquarters will release budget to all the ICR institutes. Budget will be released by the ICR headquarters as per our budget estimate or revised estimate. Then, at the time of incurring expenditure, every finance officer posted at that unit or headquarters, they will pre-check the bill, any bill placed for payment. All the bills are to be pre-checked, pre-audited before it is paid. Sufficient funds are placed periodically at the disposal of the head of the institute for necessary expenditure. Means council is supposed to release sufficient fund to each institute for their expenditure, and the fund will be released in the institute bank account, institute dedicated bank account. And there are also pension authorization unit in our ICR setup. Presently, there are 19 pension authorization units. So these pension authorization unit means zone-wise pension authorization units are there. So these pension authorization units will authorize the pension and retirement benefits in case of superannuation of the government servant, in case of voluntary retirement, in case of death, in case of resignation, like that. The finance and account officer are also responsible for internal test check of the initial accounts record maintained by other wings at the headquarters or various ICR institute. The Joint Secretary Finance arranges for periodical inspection and internal test. Means the internal audit of our institute or even if headquarters also is being arranged by the Joint Secretary Finance. Then mainly the administrative wing of the all ICR institutes or headquarters, they will what they will do? They will maintain the service records, they will prepare the bills, disburse the salary, handle the other cash transaction in respect of the institute or headquarters. Like that means all the administrative issue, all the administrative matter will be looked after by the administrative wing of the institute or headquarters. Then as we have been preparing the accrual accounting system, wherever required, the liabilities or outstanding liabilities or pending bills or what is the outstanding advances, accrual interest, all these are the responsibility of the head of office. Means head of office is supposed to provide all this information to the account structure while preparing the annual account. Then our system means there are internal audit and external audit also in our system. Internal audit means okay, we are the account structure that we are doing internal check, that is a different issue. Apart from auditing by the account structure, it's posted at the institute. There is a provision of internal auditing also. The internal auditing are being conducted maybe by the chartered accountant team or Institute of Public Auditor of India team of the Institute of Public Auditor of India or chartered accountant team or ICAR headquarters. They themselves conduct the internal audit. And the external audit is to be conducted by the CAG. This is known as the statutory audit. The statutory audit is to be conducted by the CAG of the India. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India is known as the auditor of the ICAR. And while the statutory audit is conducted, so the audit is of two parts, means two type of audits. One is transaction audit, one is certification audit. So what is those transaction and certification? Transaction audit means your day-to-day activities, means maybe procurement process, maybe execution of work. What is that process? Means mainly they will see the activities of the institute. And in case of certification, that is certification of account, means annual account. They will mainly do the auditing of the annual account. So that is why these were, whether it is transaction audit or it is certification audit. Then one audit is there, that is performance audit. Performance audit is not a routine audit. It is conducted at regular interval also by the CAG, but again, in some institute, it is conducted maybe within 5 years or 10 years, like that. It means it is not conducted every year or once in a 2 years, like that. It is not conducted. It is conducted once in maybe 5 years, 10 years, like that. And in performance audit, mainly it is project-based auditing. Whatever projects are functioning at the institute, so that projects are to be audited in the performance audit. Then while preparing the annual account, each institute, they are preparing the annual account. Council generally gives a proper time to prepare the annual account. After submission of the annual account to the ICR headquarters will consolidate the annual account. Every annual account or annual account of the all ICR institute will be consolidated, and one single annual account of the ICR will be prepared at the ICR headquarters, and that will be placed before the governing body for its approval. Then these are the, you can see the following are the your books or reference books or manual. You can tell ICR books for rules and bylaws, JFR 2017, manual on policy and procedure for purchase of goods, manual on policy and procedure for procurement of watch, manual on policy and means these books or manual we can refer our day-to-day working in the institute. Then duties and responsibilities of the head of office. Then again, head of office in any institute, director may declare any officer subordinate to him, means working under the director. The director can declare any officer to him. There is no concept of senior or junior. Even if director, if decides, he can also nominate one junior officer as a head of office. Even if director can nominate one scientist also to work as a head of office, but there should not be more than one head of office at a time. At a time, there should be only one head of office. Then the head of office or any other officer also may designate as drawing and disbursing officer of the institute. DDO particular means head of office. He himself can be the DDO or any other officer can be nominated to work as DDO of the institute. And again, head of office is primarily responsible for preparation of the budget estimate, control of expenditure, maintenance of account, looking after recruitment. These are the works of head of office. Of course, while working at the institute, we have seen that some of these are also mainly looked after by the accounts officer. Then generally, head of office or as a DDO, what one officer is does, he draws the money from the council and makes payment to wherever it is required. It is the main responsibility of the DDO. Means whenever any money come, who prepares the bill? So certainly DDO prepares the bill. DDO and his section prepares the bill. When they will prepare the bill, means payment is also means on the basis of the bill of the DDO only payment can be made. If no bill is there, I think no payment can be made. And the head of office and the DDO, as I told you, can be also the same person. Again, while working, there are several rules. Delegation of financial rule, delegation of financial power rules, central treasury rules, fundamental supplemental rules, CCA rules, CCA leave rule, pension rule. You may be knowing all these books. Even if Swami handbook also, all the leave rules have been compiled also. Then if you discuss regarding service book for whenever a government servant joins the government service book is to be opened by the administrative section. In the service book, what happens? Now all important happening of a government servant in his service career is recorded in the service book. Means his date of joining, date of clearance of probation, date of promotion, date of increment, date of means maternity leave, paternity leave, your EL, even if punishment if any, reward if any, everything has to be recorded in the service book. And with regard to his family members also, the details of the family members also are to be appended in the service book. Family members, again, there may be changes of the family member. In case of changes, addition or deletion can be made to the member of the family. And the service book, again, after opening, every year it has to be verified by the head of office or any other office authorized by him. Then while your verification of the service book, it is also required that the service book is to be shown to the government servant once in a year. It is as per manual, whether any office is doing or not, that is a different issue. But every year the service book is to be shown to the government servant, and his signature is also to be obtained on his service book that he has seen the service book. But many organizations scan copy of the service book also they are providing to the government service. Then head of office can delegate to a subordinate officer under him and for attesting the entries of the service book of all other officers except his own. His own service book is to be attested by the higher authority, maybe director or any other person nominated by the director. The leave account, as I told you, leave account is to be maintained in the service book. Maybe EL, no, CL is not to be maintained. EL or half pay leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, child care leave, study leave. Every important leave account has to be entered in the service book. The entry regarding increment, regarding pay fixation should be based on the increment certificate and the pay fixation statement. This entry also has to be there in the service book. Then declaration of the hometown also will be recorded in the service book. At the time of joining of the government servant, for the purpose of availing LTC, we have to declare what is our hometown. So hometown declaration also is to be recorded. This hometown, once given, can also be changed. With your request, you can also change it. Then again, period of suspension or interruption in service is to be recorded in the service book. Then your every government servant has to submit the annual immovable property return of a particular calendar year, that is as on 31st December. Means as on 31st December, we have to submit the annual immovable property return, and it is to be submitted by 31st January of the following year. Means by 31st January, we have to submit this property return up to 31st December. Means that means it is a mandatory, you have to submit. Otherwise, at the time of promotion, this thing also is to be looked after, whether you have submitted or not. If you have not submitted, then you will not be means you will not be promoted. Then it is the duty of the head of office to prepare the list of the government servant who is going to be superannuated from service on account of retirement on quarterly basis. Means head of office will prepare the list, means within this quarter who is going to retire in the next month, like that. So quarterly wise, quarterly wise, the list is to be prepared. Who are the government servant, those who are going to retire from service within next 12 to 15 months of that date. Means next 12 to 15 months. That list, it has to be prepared and it has to be given to the accounts officer for taking necessary action with regard to the sanction of his pension or other benefit. Then in case of superannuation, this is okay, but in case of voluntary retirement or other thing, quitting service like that, again the head of office will have to immediately intimate to the accounts officer. Then at the same time, the head of office also is to inform to the director of estate who is looking after our residential accommodation. Maybe if the government servant who is going to be superannuated from service, if he has written one quarter, then the quarter also is to be vacated as per the guidelines, and certain whatever the license fee dues is to be also recovered. Then whenever any money is deposited into our government account, that money we should immediately take a note of that. Means we have to immediately record the transaction in the cash book or in our maybe in the our main cash book or subsidiary cash book. If any person deposits the cash, means in subsidiary, if it is related to subsidiary, it is subsidiary account or it is main account. Means whatever money deposited by any person into our institute account, immediately after going through that bank statement, we have to take we have to write in the receipt side of the cash book. These are the as I told you, routine duties of the head of office. You may be knowing or you can refer. Means particularly at the time of your transfer of a government servant, the head of office or administration will issue one last pay certificate. In that last pay certificate, whatever outstanding advance is available against that government servant is to be written there. For example, if the government servant has taken computer advance of 50,000 and 20,000 has been recovered, then we have to mention in that LPC that 30,000 is yet to be recovered, so that the new organization where he joins, they will recover that 30,000 on monthly basis and they will remit to the old organizations. And these are various advances Nowadays, of course, these advances are not there. Only personal computer advance is there and the house building advance is there. This is the interest bearing advance. Meaning, if these advances are paid, interest is to be recovered from the government servant. And these are the interest free advance. Interest like our 2T advance on TA, LTC. Some advances are also presently not there. As I told you, this is related to old audit manual. So, but this is the manual presently. This means as per that manual, these are the advances. Then duties and responsibility of the DDOs. DDOs while incurring any expenditure, he also is supposed to exercise the same vigilance as a person of ordinary prudence. Means whenever we are spending our own money, some scrutiny, some check, something we are also doing. It is not that haphazardly we are going to any market or any shop and we are purchasing something. We are inquiring rate. We are seeing the quality. We are seeing whether it is make or model or brand. That thing also is to be looked after by the concerned officer while incurring any expenditure. Then all the bills related to the institute, maybe salary, TA, contingency, or any other things. All the bills are to be prepared by the DDO or each section in the proper format, and the bill is to be countersigned by the controlling officer wherever required, and it is to be submitted to the finance account officer for pre-audit and payment. Then after pre-audit, it is to be paid. You see, the transaction involving fraction of a rupee shall be brought to account by rounding up to the nearest rupee. Means if the transaction is 50 paisa and more, it has to be converted to the next higher rupee. And if it is less than 50 paisa, it is to be converted to the means at the lower side it has to be converted, not at the higher side. And in case of pensionary benefits like pension, death cum retirement gratuity or commuted value of pension, if the fraction is in any point, means maybe less than 50 or more than 50. If it is also less than 50, it has to be rounded up to the next higher rupee. If it is less than 50 paisa also. Then supplier bill, while we are means preparing supplier bill or passing the supplier bill, these are the things we have to see. Means any bills received, we have to see if it is a, for example, capital bill of means asset nature, means any item purchased from the granted capital budget. So there we have to see whether the entry in the asset register has been maintained or not. Whether the entry with regard to the receive the material in good condition, it is written under the stock register entry is written under the item is installed and working satisfactorily. These certificates are mentioned or not. Then if it is an asset nature of item, then as that item has to be mentioned in the asset register. Then while preparing the bill, itself the duty of the DDO to ensure that all statutory liabilities, that is income tax, GST, or any other deduction, that like that NPS or other thing, which is to be deducted at source, these deduction are to be made at source and it has to be deposited with the government treasury and necessary returns has to be filed in time. Subsidiary cash book. So every institute you may be having certain impressed money, impressed. In a big institute, maybe it is DDO impressed. I am talking about DDO impressed. It may be 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, whatever may be, depending upon your requirement. This interest advance is being held by the DDO or the concerned person. So this interest, you can see the is to be recorded. The interest transactions means whenever money comes, whenever the DDO receives the money with regard to the this interest, it will be recorded in the receipt side. Then whenever making any payment side, and every day that interest that subsidiary cash book has to be closed. Means every day you have to see that what is the balance available as per the subsidiary cash book. And this subsidiary cash book is to be means closing balance of the subsidiary cash book is to be verified by your DDO on every day-to-day basis. And if whenever there is any correction or overwriting, simply you have to that an erasure or overwriting of an entry once made in the cash book is strictly prohibited. Means we are not supposed to make any correction or any erasing on the your cash book. If it is required, badly if it is required, it has to be corrected by drawing the pen through the incorrect entry and inserting the correct one in red ink. This is as per the manual. This is as per the manual and as per any guidelines, receipt and payment rule also you can see. The closing of the subsidiary cash book, the subsidiary cash book will be closed on daily everyday basis, day-to-day basis, it has to be closed. And before it is closed, the DDO is supposed to sign it. And the subsidiary cash book, every day it is closed means your closing balance of the subsidiary cash book is to be tallied with the physically cash available with the cashier. One cashier is attached to the DDO, and the cashier also is supposed to have fidelity bond. You may be knowing for handling the cash transaction, he will be a fidelity bond. So this everyday physical cash is to be tallied with the your closing balance available as per cash book, subsidiary cash book. If it is tallied, then DDO will put his signature. Then this subsidiary cash book is supposed to be checked by the accounts officer surprisingly on any day of a month. Means every month, the finance and account officer of that institute is supposed to have a surprise check of the subsidiary books. Any day he can go and ask you show your subsidiary cash book, means show your closing balance and what is the balance physically available with you. Means physically, but again physical balance where it is to be kept. Physical balance available with the cashier. Where is to be kept? Now once your iron chest maybe there is to be kept in the cashier room. There your cash is to be physical cash is to be kept there. Means accounts officer may visit surprisingly on any day of a month and he can ask you show your closing balance of as per your subsidiary cash book and show me your physical cash. If it is okay, then he can write verified and found correct. Then he will put his dated signature. Apart from the surprise check of the finance and account officer, any other officer nominated by the director can also have surprise check on quarterly basis. This you can tell physical verification of the cash. As I told you, accounts officer on your DDO will first make on day-to-day basis. Accounts officer once in a month. Any other officer once in a quarter. Then after the verification, one certificate is to be recorded, certified that cash amounting to this rupees has been physically verified and found correct as per the balance recorded in the cash book. This I have discussed with you. Then what is the duties of the finance and accounts officer? Those who are working in the audit and account section, you may be knowing very well what are the duties, because mainly the dealing assistant or a dealing clerk, they also know what is the duties and the responsibilities of the finance accounts officer. Whatever rules, whatever bills, whatever bills or whatever payments submitted to the accounts officer are subject to scrutiny, judicial scrutiny by the accounts officer. Every bill is to be checked by the accounts officer. First of all, what is the fundamental way of checking the bills? First of all, if any bill comes to you, you see whether provision is there or not. Provision means your whether allocation or provision is available. Any bills I am talking. If you are making payment for the purchase of computer or any your office car, so that also you have to see while purchasing car whether provision for that car is available on EFC in the EFC or not. provision is there or not, then procedure has been followed or not, order has been issued or not, sanction order has been issued or not, everything has to be seen. If the bill has been submitted, then bill also has to be seen, whether the bill is in proper format or not, whether the bill has been signed by the supplier or not, and revenue staff has been affixed or not, then the arithmetical accuracy of the bill is correct or not, the what mentioned in the figure, what mentioned in the figure, the rupees mentioned in the words and figures are correct or not, or these are things are to be tallied, they are to be seen. Then in case of promotion, in case of upgradation, pay fixation is to be made of the government servant, then your pay is to the fixation of pay is to be checked by the accounts officer. Then whatever check your accounts officer is having, means nowadays we are using less check because we are making all maybe TSA payment or your payment to NEFT, EFT. So let's check you are using, but for maintain for check also one your register is to be maintained by the accounts officer. Means for the for maintenance of the check, means how many number of the check book we have received from the bank, and how many check number of the checkbook. Checkbook means indicating the number of the check. From this serial number this to serial number this checkbook we have received. Whether this checkbook we have issued or not, means issued for means writing the checks, issued for using the office. Whether we have used or not, that also we have to see. Then if any check is cancelled, that has to be also maintained with us. Then or whatever bill produces or submitted before us for payment, if necessary action is to be made for payment, then main cash book, subsidiary cash book is to be maintained by the DDO, whereas main cash book is to be maintained by the accounts officer. It is the that cash book, main cash book is to be closed monthly. Every month wise it is to be closed, and the closing balance of the cash book is to be verified is the closing balance of the bank statement. If there is some discrepancy, then BRS, bank reconciliation statement, is to be prepared. Then all outstanding advances, what may be T advance, LDC advance, and contingent advance, or advance paid to CPWD for deposit to us, all advances has to be adjusted. Means we have to keep a watch on the adjustment of the advances. Then while making the payment, we have to also make abstract of these payments under which head it is to be booked. Maybe it is an revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. If it is also capital expenditure, what are the different heads involved in that? That also we have to see. We have to also prepare budget estimate and revise estimate. In short, we can call B and RE. It is the duty of the accounts officer. Yeah, his section. Then to watch the progress of the receipt and expenditure against the sanction estimate. Whatever sanction, whatever allocation we have got from the council, whatever fund we have received from the council, whether our expenditure are being made as per that sanction, that also we have to see. Means all the money received during a financial year has to be spent by 31st of March. Then after the closure of the March, annual account also is to be prepared in the format given by the ICAR. PF, NPS, Provident Fund account or a new pension ledger also have to be maintained by the accounts officer. You see, these are the reports or return is to be submitted to ICAR within this timeline. Receipt and statement of progressive receipt and expenditure, that is your expenditure statement, monthly expenditure statement is to be submitted by 5th of succeeding month. Statement of GPA by 5th of succeeding month, BRS by 15th of succeeding month, statement of GST or statutory tax, any 15th of succeeding month, next month 15th. The statement of NPS, 5th of succeeding month, statement of outstanding advance, 10th of succeeding month, report on timely payment of service tax, now it is GST, 10th of succeeding month. Then 6-month report, statement of cases of disagreement between finance and account officer and director. If any disagreement will be there, that statement is to be submitted by 10th of January or 10th of July every year. And this difference of opinion is to be routed through the director of the institute. Then annual accounts along with all details is to be submitted by 30th April. Of course, sometimes council gives relaxation. We is to submit it by 30th June maximum. Then annual statement of provident fund by 30th April of the previous, by 30th April we have to submit. Then statement of a refund made by the institute to the council 30th April. And we also, the accounts officer is to also check the comparative statement in case of the purchase of goods or in case of the execution of wars in then we have to also vetted all the purchase procedure are to be vetted by the accounts officer by going through the provision, by going through the estimate, drawing, so on and so forth. To examine the forms of contract, invitation to tender, it is our duty also to examine the form of contract or tender, whatever the terms and conditions we have maintained, that also we have to see once. Once the terms and terms of the reference mentioned in the tender document and the tender has been floated, we have received the bids. Afterwards, the terms and conditions cannot be changed. Once it is mentioned, that is final. Even if you want to make some changes also, we cannot make. Then to drop the audit para of the available at the institute, there may be ad hoc committee. As per this audit manual, director will be the chairman and your head of administration, head of finance, they will be there. And the audit para is to be checked, means compliance report is to be submitted at regular interval. Then what if you are receiving fund from the externally aided project, that then we have to make a different ledger. Yeah, you have to record it in a different register. Means mainly we are having two type of projects. One is plan scheme project. Plan scheme project means the projects funded by ICR or its ICR or any ICR units. That is plan scheme projects. And then other is deposit your EAPs, externally aided projects, like any project submitted, sponsored not by ICR or the institute, but by other government of India organization or any private organization. So likewise, any receipt of fund is to be recorded and any expenditure made out of that is to be entered in that, and closing balance also is to be prepared every month and finally annually also. These are the various register audit and account unit generally maintain. TA contingent granted, these are all the register. All registers are to be maintained by the account audit and account unit. Then after payment of the bill, payment of the voucher, all paid voucher shall be appended to contingent bills and start cancel. Cancel what is to be mentioned. Yeah, is to be stamped there after payment of the bill. Paid by check number this, dated this, it is to be recorded. Then it is the duty of the finance and account officer to ensure that incurring of expenditure from the fund of the society following requirement, means these are the points we have to again see. These I have discussed with you, then you can also go through this. Most of you may be doing this. Then while you're preparing any bill or making any payment, every time you have to see that we are following the rules and regulations properly. That we have to see. I mean, it is also, there is no inconsistency with any provision of the rules or bylaws of our society, and all our transactions are consistent with the essential requirement of the audit and accounts. The first duty of the financial account officer is examining the account is to verify that all financial transactions are properly recorded in the account under examination. Means properly recorded in the means if it is, for example, if it is a contingent expenditure, then it has to be recorded under the contingent head. If it is an expenditure under the capital head, means there are three heads mainly we are getting grant. One is granted, you may be knowing still, granting head capital, granting head general, and granting head salary. They are mainly three heads. And pension is coming, if any pension payment is there, that is coming under grant in India general. Mainly 3 years. Under these 3 years, we are getting fund from ICAR, and while making any expenditure, we are also posting the expenditure against that 3 years. If it is contingency expenditure, it will be recorded against grant in India general. If it is expenditure of capital nature, it is to be recorded against grant in India capital. Otherwise, if it is salary, it is to be recorded under grant in India salary. These are the, you see, if it is assets, these are the different heads of the assets. Means, if you prepare the annual account under Schedule 5, these things are there. Lands, building under the original equipment, tank and pump, these are the various type of assets as per our audit manual. These are all assets. These expenditure incurred under these heads are coming under or will coming under grant net capital. These are not contingent expenditure. Then again, if the expenditure is incurred for assets, then an asset register is to be maintained, and that asset register, the total of the asset register is to be tallied with your actual assets, actual payment made as per your annual account. Means whatever figure available as per your annual account, asset register also, that figure should tally. Figure of asset register, figure of annual account should tally, and we used to provide one certificate to the council that okay, the total of the asset register does tally with the total of our annual account. You see, there are some consumable, some non-consumable items like articles like scissor, knives cannot definitely be treated as item of asset. Such articles may be classified as stationery stores and treated as consumable. Okay. Capital revenue, as I told you, capital revenue means if in a layman point of view, if you can ask what is the difference between revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, the answer will be the benefit derived from the revenue expenditure generally expire within a short period of time. Within a short period of time, but the benefit derived from the capital expenditure does not expire within a short period of time. Means it will continue forever. Like for example, if we have procured a computer, laptop, office vehicle, fan, air conditioner, we will get the benefit for years together. Maybe 5 or 10 years, 15 years, like that. But if you incur expenditure on account of salary, wages, rent, electricity, so that benefit is for that month only. If we have paid salary for the month of February, that benefit will expire in the month of February itself. Again, March also, again we have to pay salary expenditure. So this is the main difference between the capital and revenue. Then while checking the bill, these are the things I have discussed mainly. You have to see if the bill has been submitted in the proper format, then it has been signed, all the columns have been filled, like that. Then even a bill also, there should not be any overwriting or eraser. If it is there, it has to be signed by the appropriate officer. Wherever agreement is required, in case of outsourcing services, in case of CPWD, wherever agreement is required, agreement means between our institute and between their party. So we have to also look after that agreement. Then wherever any statutory payment, as I told you, income tax, GST, it has to be deducted and deposited in time, and return has to be filled. Return has to be filed, of course, in due time. Generally, your accounts officer will hand over the checkbook to the check writer in the morning and will collect in the evening. It is as per the manual. Means the checkbook is not supposed to be written by your dealing clerk or dealing assistant. It is to be maintained by, it is to be kept by the accounts officer himself or herself. This is as per audit manual, but in practice, something we are also relying to our subordinates, and we are handing over to them all things. but the checkbook should not remain unattended on any table, on the table of either any dealing assistant or accounts officer. Means simply we can keep the checkbook like idle for 1 day, 2 day like that. Means it should be maintained in a sub custody. No bill should be kept pending for more than 2 working days for preparation of the check or making payment. If your audit section is having any bill, the bill has to be paid within 2 days, maximum, not more than that. Then the official handling cash or checkbook should be transferred to other seat every 3 to 5 years. Means as they are working in a sensitive post. So that is why those officers or those dealing assistant or clerk, they have to be rotated to the other position in every 3 to 5 years. Main cash book, as I told you, every month it is to be closed, and the closing balance of the cash book has to be tallied with the bank balance available as per our bank statement. If there is a difference, then bank reconciliation statement is to be prepared. Then what is the duties of the audit clerk? Audit clerk, there may be a question, what is the duty of the audit clerk? Means as an audit clerk, what we are supposed to do, what we are supposed to check. So these are the things. Again, arithmetic, you have to see that the those who have submitted the claim, that is the correct person submitting the claim, the bill is in correct format, arithmetical accuracy is correct, there is no problem. Then everything means your addition you can make also, the figure in words, figure in rupees in words and figures has to be also checked. That should be same like this. These are the, you can also refer, most of you may be doing also. These are certain different point. TA bill that you may be knowing. TA, generally DA is the main point where generally we commit mistake. How DA is calculated? DA is calculated from midnight to midnight. Means you're from 12 midnight to 12 midnight it is calculated. General means if I have started journey today at, for example, 1 p.m. I have started journey from 1 p.m. today. So today's DA will be from 1 p.m. of today to 12 of midnight. How many hours it is? It is 11 hours. So DA is calculated on this basis only. And again for next day, from your 12 midnight to next day 12 midnight. On that basis, DA is calculated. If someone has traveled on TA, there should be the approval of the director, that has to be shown. Tour program has to be approved. Tour report is to be submitted. These are the basic things you have to see. If he has taken more advance, then he certainly has to refund the money. And again, it has the tour, the TA bill. If the advance has been taken, the adjustment has to be submitted immediately after joining the office. Then duties of the controlling officer before he passes the TA. These are the point you have to see. Everything means if he has mentioned the distance on road distance and claim the your road mileage, then you have to see what is the percentage, what is the kilometer. He has written there. Then kilometer, then you have to calculate the road mileage. Like this, airfare also has to be checked whether he has booked the ticket from the authorized travel agent or not. That has to be seen whether he is having proper approval or not, whether he has submitted tour report, tour program, so many things, and proper boarding pass. Without boarding pass, no TA bill is to be passed. LTC, as you know, LTC is to be availed on block year basis. The present block year is 2022-23, one block. Next block is 2024 to 25. Means if you take 4-year block, it will be from 2022-23 to 2024-25. And how to remember block year? One thing I can tell you, you can see the every block year is an odd number, not even odd. Means block year is 2022-23. 23 is odd, not even. The next is 24-25. It is odd. So this way you can also identify the block year. That means LTC is to be taken for in case of a newly joined government servant. LTC should be taken once in every year, but after completion of the 1 year of service, the first LTC is to be taken after completion of 1 year of service. Again, LTC proper sanction is there. Family members, if it is there, family members list also has to be there in your service book. So the hometown declaration is to be also verified from the service book. If it is going to his hometown, then block year also is to be checked. In the block year which he has mentioned, whether he has already availed for that is also looked after. These are the things we may refer. Audit, these things, TA, LTC, these things. Cash interest, I have already told you. Interest maximum up to a single bill can be up to 2,000 only, not more than that. Up to 2,000, we can make payment from the interest account. Okay, not more than 2,000. And this interest payment can be made for the following purposes: urgent contingent expenditure, like that, obligatory expenses, like this interest payment can be made. Cash interest, again it is a permanent interest advance sanctioned by the competent authority. This thing I have discussed. On the last working day also, on 31st March, the cash interest, what is the amount of the cash available, that has to be checked. It has to be reflected in the annual account. Now, one thing is there. If anyone is having, for again DDO, if he is having interest of 20,000 on 31st March, we have to see what is means we have to obtain a certificate from each interest holder, how many physical cash he is having, and how many vouchers he is having with him, so that total of physical voucher and total amount of bills should be the interest sanction amount. If it is sanctioned 20,000, he may be having 5,000 with him cash. The rest 15,000 he should have your bills or invoices. Works expenditure, as per this audit manual, major works is any works costing more than 10 lakhs, and your petty works or minor works is up to 10 lakh. If you are depositing money to CPWD, then 1/3 of the preliminary estimate. Preliminary estimate, again we have to give the administrative approval and expenditure sanction from our end. Then 1/3 of that administrative approval and expenditure sanction is to be released first. Then subsequently, we will not release 1/3 like that. We will simply reimburse the expenditure by seeing the progress of works. By obtaining the Form 65 from CPWD, we will simply make the payment as per their expenditure. Only initially, we will make 1/3 of the payment as first installment, and thereafter, only the expenditure incurred by the CPWD will be reimbursed. The deposit of the first installment shall be retained for adjustment against the last portion of the estimated expenditure. This is the main thing. Whatever 1/3 you have given, it is to be adjusted in the last portion. Works carried out by the CPWD are treated as deposit works. Okay, a register of deposit works in Form 25 is to be maintained. Then this is like fundamental principle of buying. You may be knowing we have to follow this efficiency, economy, and transparency in matter relating to the public procurement while procuring goods and services. That we have to see. Then this is of course, here I have updated as per the purchase of goods without quotation. This is the latest one, means as per GFR 154, purchase of goods up to 1 lakh on each occasion may be made without inviting quotation. It is GFR 154, and it is a special concession for the research organization like CSIR, ICR, like us. We can go up to 1 lakh as per GFR 154. That means one certificate is to be written here. You see, the important point is the competent authority in this case shall be the authority competent to sanction the purchase as declared by the director at the institute or by the secretary at ICR headquarters. This is again as per if the item is more than 1 lakh and up to 10 lakh, then by constituting a 3 members local purchase committee, we can survey the markets and we can identify a supplier by market survey. Then we can submit our proceeding for placement of order, so purchase order on that supplier. Then after receipt of the goods, the payment will be made. This is regarding you may refer this late bids. If you have received any late bids, it is not to be encouraged, it is not to be entertained. Single tender, where single tender is required? If where you feel that that particular supplier is the manufacturer of the equipment, yet in case of emergency or in case of standardization of machinery or spare parts, in this case only single tender. AMC for our air conditioner, computer we can have, but presently there is no rate contract for chemical, glassware. There is no provision for obtaining this. Bid security 2 to 5% we can have from the bidder, and the bid security of the unsuccessful bidder should be returned to them at the earliest after expiry of the final bid validity and latest on or before 30th day after the award of the contract. After the award of the contract, you can release the bid security. Performance security from the successful bidder, we can obtain the performance security of 5 to 10%. Okay, and performance security can be obtained by your demand draft, pay deposit receipt, bank guarantee, any. And performance security should remain valid for a period of 60 days beyond the date of completion of all contractual obligation. While floating tender, we should give reasonable time. Reasonable time is minimum 21 days we should give. We should give. Otherwise, anyone can question. We have not given the reasonable time. Brief pre-bid conference. If you feel that before submission of bids or before last date of the bids, one pre-bid conference is required because the bidder is to be clarified certain points. Yeah, there is some complexity in submission of bids. You can have also pre-bid conference. You can give a notice to all in the general notice in your website. You can give that we are having a pre-bid conference. Those who are interested to participate in the pre-bid conference, you can participate and clarify your doubts. Then the criteria for determining the responsive bid, on what basis we are going to evaluate the tender, that basis has to be clearly mentioned in our bidding document. And once it is mentioned, we cannot change that criteria. And on the bid will be evaluated on the basis of that criteria only. No fresh criteria or no new criteria can be incorporated after the evaluation of the bids or after the opening of the technical bid. Bidder again should not be permitted to alter or modify their bids after expiry of the deadline for the receipt of the bids. If once the bid is submitted, the bidders are not permitted to alter or modify their bid, then negotiation with the bidders after bid opening must be severely discouraged. We should not go for negotiation. Okay. In case of L1 backs out, if we have selected the L1, we have placed the order, but L1 backs out, L1 does not show any interest to execute that contract, there should be a retender. We should go for retender. And if we have given some several items, in some item, several items we have given order to particular firm. If that firm partially has supplied some items, partially not supply some other item, then in that case we can ask to L2 bidder to supply the rest of the item, but on the basis of the rate quoted by the L1. Purchase bill, it is to be checked. I have told you again, these are the criteria. Signature maybe in English and Hindi. If it is other than that language, it has to be translated. Fund is usually committed in the following ways. Means Fraud is usually committed by misappropriating cash. Misappropriation of cash can be committed by the employees. Misappropriation of goods can be committed by the employee. Manipulating the accounts committed by the means higher authorities. How this misappropriation can happen? Now, omitting to enter the receipt of the cash. You have received something, but knowingly you have not written the receipt side. Entering less amount in the cash book than what has actually been received. You have received 1,000, but you have written 100 rupees. Entering fictitious payment. You have not made any payment to anyone, but fictitiously means you have prepared a false bill and shown a payment of 1 lakh, for example. Entering more amount than what has actually been paid. This is all misappropriation. These are the list of initial accounts record. Service book, leave account, register, overtime, so many. This is all about my presentation. Anything? Today you have to discuss because today is the last session.
सर
बोलिए।
जो इम्प्रेस्ड मनी है 2000 वो उसकी कोई लिमिट है विद इन मंथ की आप 2000 कितनी बार यूज कर सकते हैं? या मैं
नहीं लिमिट नहीं है सर, लिमिट नहीं है।
ठीक
मींस ऑन ईच ओकेजन 2000 होना चाहिए।
ठीक है।
एनीथिंग? बोले आपका जो अभी तक खत्म हो गया, टुमारो इज द वैलिडेटरी। इसीलिए आपको जो भी कुछ पूछना है या कुछ मेरे से आपको हेल्प चाहिए तो बोलिए, वो मैं शेयर कर सकता हूँ। मैं भी किसी से ला के, किसी से ढूंढ के, कहाँ से लेके आपको दे सकते हैं।
सर जो फीमेल कैंडिडेट एम्प्लॉय है वो अपने इन लॉज का एलटीसी ले सकते हैं?
मैडम,
फीमेल एम्प्लॉय अपने इन लॉज का एलटीसी ले सकते हैं सर?
इन-लॉज का?
जी सर।
इन-लॉज का कैसे लेंगे आप डिपेंडेंट फैमिली मेंबर जिसको दिखाए होंगे, ऑफिस एक्सेप्ट किए होंगे, हेड ऑफ ऑफिस डिपेंडेंट फैमिली, एलटीसी कौन लेंगे? डिपेंडेंट फैमिली मेंबर्स। जो डिपेंडेंट फैमिली मेंबर्स आप हेड ऑफ ऑफिस को दिए होंगे, हेड ऑफ ऑफिस अगर एक्सेप्ट किए होंगे, आप ओनली डिपेंडेंट फैमिली मेंबर्स के लिए एलटीसी में जा सकते हैं। वो भी डिपेंडेंट फैमिली मेंबर्स, आई एम रिपीटिंग, मींस अगर किसी का भी चिल्ड्रन होगा वो भी आपका 25 इयर्स बाद नहीं ले सकते, या इफ इज अर्निंग नहीं ले सकते। जो आपका पर डिपेंडेंट है तो डिपेंडेंट मेंबर का आप एलटीसी ले सकते हैं।
नहीं, मेडिकल ले रहे हैं सर लेकिन।
हाँ, तो मेडिकल ले रहे मीन्स डिपेंडेंट है। अगर आप मेडिकल ले रहे हैं तो आपका पर डिपेंडेंट है।
जी सर।
हाँ, तो डिपेंडेंट मेंबर के लिए आप ले सकते हैं। तो आप ऑफिस क्या एक्सेप्ट किए वो आप देखिए।
जी सर। एक ये सेंट्रल इम्प्रेस्ड के बारे में बता देते सर।
क्या?
सेंट्रल इम्प्रेस्ड सर।
इम्प्रेस्ड?
सेंट्रल इम्प्रेस्ड।
हाँ, central interest means only DDO will make half the central interest, no? So, central interest means divisionally, if it is in case of big institute, divisionally interest amount is given to all the division, to different division. So they will handle their interest amount. तो what interest amount का each voucher का limit है 2000 each voucher का। तो आप जो भी आपका पास इंटरेस्ट आएगा 2000 ओनली दे सकते हैं एक बिल का, 2000 से ज्यादा आप दे नहीं सकते। ओके, और अगेन इंटरेस्ट वो रेगुलर टाइम में उसको हम मॉनिटर करेंगे, इवैल्यूएट करेंगे कि एक्चुअली रिक्वायरमेंट कितना होगा, आपका रिक्वायरमेंट कितना है। अगर आपका रिक्वायरमेंट उतना नहीं है, मानो आपको एवरी मंथ आप फॉर एग्जांपल 10,000